You have made a very wordy human speechless, my friend. I'm gonna need to know the story behind the yellow brick road sign in your house.
Yeah, so my mom was a huge fan of The Wizard of Oz, and so every time I hear the Yellow Brick Road or anything, I think of her, and so I wanted to put it up to commemorate her, and so it's just so funny that you brought it up, and I just happened to have just hung it. That's crazy.
It's not. None of this is crazy because it's all happening just as it was supposed to. I believe that 100%, particularly now that you just randomly have a yellow brick road sign in your house. Like, what are the chances of that? That is not normal. Tiffany Jenkins, welcome to Quick Before You Forget.
Hello, I am so happy to freaking be here.
I am so happy you're here, and my friends are so happy you're here because you know what? You are like a friend to me and a friend to them that we've all just never met. And for anybody that doesn't know who Tiffany Jenkins is, she is a two-time New York Times bestselling author, speaker, and one of those super rare voices on the internet who makes you laugh, cry, and feel understood all at the same time. When I first read the subtitle of her newest book, I should say, A Clean Mess, a memoir of sobriety after a lifetime of being numb, I had a full body reaction. I cried because that idea of coming back to a life after being numb feels so real for so many of us, including
Mhm.
me. Tiffany has this way of telling the truth in a way that makes you feel less alone. And today we're diving into what healing actually looks like when it's not neat, tidy, or tied up in a bow. She's been such a good friend to me and to you, and her being here with us today is a dream come true. Tiffany, I'm so grateful you're here.
Holy cow, that was such a beautiful intro. Thank you so much for saying all those nice things.
Well,
Um,
it's all true.
I appreciate it so much. I think you're amazing, and I love the name. Here's the thing, to have it show up in my inbox saying, "Quick before you forget," and then having a calendar invite attached to it while asking the question was a dream come true, and if every person in my life from now on could communicate with me that way, just so I don't know if there's a correlation, but the quick before you forget, it's like you knew who I was. It's like you probably asked me once back in, 2019 to be on your podcast, and I'm just now getting the email, and here I am, and I'm so grateful to be here, and I am a hot mess. Obviously, that's why I'm here.
Not, not a hot mess. And friends, she's referencing when we met in 2019. So Tiffany and I met in person at a meet and greet at her book event for High Achiever, which was her first book. And we met in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we had the most kismet moment where I walked up to her and she completely took me off guard. And literally the first thing out of her mouth was, "You're so pretty."
Mhm.
And I was like, and she said, "You're what, you're not going to say it back."
What a dick.
To which I say, "You're so pretty." No, you're not a dick. You're so pretty. Just took me 6 years to say it back, and I'm sorry for that. But
Aw, thank you. I've been waiting
I
for
know.
so
I
long.
mean, I know. I'm so sorry. That's such a long wait. But I know we share this belief that our story is our superpower. So what I'd like to kind of do today a little bit is walk through your past, your present, your future a little bit, starting with a story from your childhood that shaped who you are today.
Whoa, fun and traumatizing. I just realized at first it sounded fun, then the other memories came in, and I'm like, "Oh, that definitely shaped me."
Two things can be true.
Oh my gosh, I'm in DBT therapy, and I'm learning that as we speak.
Look at that. Let's work through it
Um,
together.
okay, perfect. Um, so for me, I think something that really shaped My childhood was probably when my parents got, like, divorced because I was my sister and I were eating an after-school snack that my mom had made, which was so crazy because, like, she never made snacks. Like, there was always snacks, but usually she'd be sleeping when we got home because she worked overnight, so we would get our own stuff. So the fact that there was, like, a setup was wild and suspicious, and I remember it being suspicious. And we were eating, and suddenly the police bursted through the front door, and we're like, "Where is he?" And I looked at my mom, and I'm like, "Oh, the hell are they talking about? Like, should we get out of here? Like, who's here? What do you mean?" And, freaking they ran I could just remember their footsteps bounding up and down the stairs, and then they came down with my dad, and we're looking at him, we just start crying, and I was looking at my mom like, "Why isn't she saying anything?" And she wasn't saying anything, and I remember being so, like, confused about her not saying anything, and I remember watching him comforting us as he was leaving, and from that he never came back. We didn't see him for a while. I don't know what happened. But then my parents were just divorced. He just never came home. He just the life as I knew it just was different. And that was how it was different. It's like he was violently removed from us and ripped away from my childhood is how it felt. And so he struggled with alcohol and drugs also all throughout my life. I've come to learn, but we'd go to hang out with him. We went to the fair once and these people pulled up on a golf cart and he went to talk to them and came back and was like, "I'm going to go have dinner with these gentlemen and I'll be back." And I was like, "Okay, weird timing, but" and then his girlfriend started screaming and freaking out and crying and rushing us out of the fair. And it's like I knew that always was taken away all the time, and that with him, it wasn't safe and stable, and with my mother, it was, and she was doing the best that she could at the time. But yeah, man, I obviously was never the same after that because everything began to feel temporary. Everything that I started looking at things and being like, "Holy shit, that could go away at any moment," If my whole ass parent could go away at any moment, like, this toy that I love could definitely go away at any moment, and then I started coveting things, and still to this day, like, I can't if my kid draws more than a circle on a piece of paper, like, I can't throw it away. It's really nuts. I'm such a I don't know, I hold on to everything because of that.
Well, you kind of answered it a little bit, but I'd like you to go a little deeper because I thank you for sharing the vulnerability with you is always real, and I appreciate that. And I want to know, how did those experiences when you were a child impact how you parent and how you want to parent? Because I know that those can be two different things sometimes, and I just want to
Mhm.
be conscious and respectful of how it's always harder to be the parent that you want to be. So
Mhm.
can you talk a little bit about how that's impacted you as a parent, but then how, how that impacts how you want to be as a parent?
Absolutely. When my dad left, it was just my mom, and she was a bartender, and so she would work all night, and she would sleep all day, including, like, in the morning before school and after school when we get home, she'd still be asleep, and the house would often be filthy, um, to the point where, like, I would go to one time this is a humiliating story, and you know what? I don't even wanna tell it because I feel bad because all my parents have died since, and I don't want to say anything that makes it she tried her best. She did the best she could, but, we kind of grew up I in a situation where the house wasn't super clean all the time, and I just had an incident the other day where my daughter brought her friend in, and they wanted ice cream, and she was like, "Can where are the bowls?" And my boyfriend was like, "Just wash one." And I became irate, like, irrationally irate, and had to storm upstairs, and I'm like, "Do you know how humiliating that is?" To be the house in the HOA neighborhood where you have to wash a bowl if you want food, like and it really, like, affected me in a way because I desperately don't want my children to grow up in that environment, where the kids can't come over, you can't have friends over, you know. But naturally, as a person, I can see how easily that happens. I can see how freaking simple it is to get backlogged, to get behind, and to want to just like right now, if you walked in my house, you'd be like, "Oh, you okay." So that makes sense that you grew up that way. Like, it's just nuts right now. If I so anyway, that's my biggest fear. So because of that, like, I'm constantly, like, obsessively, like, running around picking stuff up, like, "Why are you guys picking stuff up?" "I can't be like my mother's house, get it." And it still affects me daily because I want different for them. I also, want to be present and be there when they get off to school in the morning and when they come back from school because I didn't have that. I was very much a latchkey kid. But the problem is I'm so effing exhausted all the time that I find myself snoozing all the time. Even, we're sitting on the couch together and there's a minute where I can close my eyes, like I'll take it. And I'm like, God, this is the same thing. I'm repeating the same thing. Is this okay, this feels like therapy. Was this a trick? What's going on here? I
No,
I've
no.
never talked about this ever in any ever podcast. I don't think. People are gonna find clips of me talking about it 7 times and be like, "You liar," but I truly don't recall ever speaking about this publicly.
Tiffany, thank you because I have unlocked a gift in myself, I think. And I can admit it out loud because I have had that happen multiple times, including with a sportscaster who I respect, admire, and am honored to call a friend. His name is Jason Fitz. And he was episode 5, I think. And he cried like a sports guy. He started crying and he said, Ty, I've told this story 7 times. I don't know why I'm losing it. And I think
Mm,
what matters is you're talking to somebody who you might feel safe with, and I see that as one of the highest honors that a person can have. So I'm
mm,
thankful and grateful that you feel that way, and it's not weird at all to me that you would feel like a little bit like therapy because what I want to do on this show and like my whole purpose behind what I'm trying to build with this show is to provide a space where people can come and share their story, which I think everybody's story is valid, everybody's story matters, and because I know that people feel seen in true life stories. And there's people that feel seen in what you've just walked us through, and I'm grateful that you shared it. So I'm feeling like I want to apologize, but I also want to be like, no, it's totally fine.
mm.
You're just we're family, right? Like you're safe,
Yeah,
you're safe here. So
yeah.
and that's a good thing. And I want to tell you because one of the tools in my tool belt for building my life from the ground up has been music. So I wanted to encourage you to please go listen to Alex Warren's song First Time on Earth if you haven't
Okay.
heard it yet, because you need that song in your life because it talks about how he had his mom was an alcoholic and he has grown to appreciate the parenting she could do. And I think that it's important for you to hear it as as a child of your parents, but then also as a parent to your kids because they'll see you someday and they'll know, they'll understand more someday about why you were the way you were and why you parented the way you parented and why you were so tired. So let's talk, I guess, a little bit more about the being tired stuff because it's legit. And I
Mhm.
know it ties into a little bit of the depression and anxiety and the mental health stuff that we've walked through. So to the extent that you want to, and I know that this is a long and loaded answer, so take your time. To the extent that you want to, for the like 3 people on this planet who have been living under a rock for the last 10 years and don't know more about you, can you just kind of like Reader's Digest your journey from that little girl who watched her dad get escorted out of her house to today
Mm.
in as best you can? Because I like I said, I know that there's a lot there, and the people are gonna have to read these 2 books to learn more about all that, but inst before
Cliff
that,
notes.
give them the Cliff Notes version.
Okay, absolutely. So I went on to my mom married a police officer, like, less than a year later than that, I'm pretty sure. Maybe it was a little bit longer. But she went on to marry a police officer, which was so crazy because it was obviously the opposite of what I had been used to with my father. So suddenly there was rules, things were strict, things were rigid, everything had a place. And there was a lot, well, listen, we're not gonna get that deep, but um, I'm like, it made me a perfectionist and a people pleaser, and I just hear his voice in my head all the time, every time I put something down. But I became a cheerleader, and then I became captain of the cheerleading squad and most valuable cheerleader, and so, I excelled at that, so I was getting lots of positive attention, everything was wonderful, and then I had my first sip of alcohol my senior year of high school after a game one night, and everything changed. I ended up dropping out of school, like, 3 months later and discovering a life of drugs and alcohol. And my parents were very confused. I didn't give a crap. Um, and my life spiraled until 2009 when my mom got lung cancer and passed away 5 months later at age 46 or 47, super young. And I had been dabbling with drugs at that point, but then so I checked myself into a rehab because I found out I was getting a trust fund from her death. Um, and I knew that I would spend that money killing myself. So I went to rehab. I wasn't ready. I was defiant. I was like, "What do you mean I can't smoke weed? Weed's not my problem. My problem is these little weird pills I just discovered." And I thought I could like scooch. Do you want this to be conversational or me to just run my trap the whole time? Because I want to do it right.
Honestly, I want people to know your story. So,
Okay.
whatever however you feel comfortable sharing it, whether it's more conversational or whether you just wanna talk is fine.
Okay.
I'm doesn't matter to me. I think that there are, there are humans out there who only know Tiffany Jenkins as the funny Juggling the Jenkins skit girl, and, like, your story has so much more to it. So that's why I thought,
Yeah.
it'd be helpful for them to know
Of
more.
course.
So
And
if
some
you
people
ramble, go ahead and ramble. It's okay.
perfect.
You're safe here, remember?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And also, I've held back from saying it 3 times, and I'm still healing, so I have to say it, but I am there's going to be many people who have no clue who the F I am. And so, you've been talking about me in such a way that is so flattering and amazing, but then there's a side of me who's like, "You better set people's expectations." You know what I mean? So I just wanna make sure everybody knows, like, I know that I'm not that cool as she's making me sound, and I know, um, that you probably might not know who the F I am, and that is something I said out loud to make myself better. So anyway, doing drugs, went to rehab,
By the way.
as one does,
Right.
um, and I got out of rehab and immediately, like, as soon as I got out of rehab, I went and bought ingredients for my favorite drinks to celebrate leaving rehab because
Mhm.
truly, like, none of this other stuff was my issue, I thought. And I was doing really great staying away from, my drug of choice, which was opiates at the time. And something I didn't even realize you could actually get addicted to because doctors give them to you. I thought street drugs were things you could get addicted to. I didn't understand.
Yeah.
And sorry. So anyways, things I met a police officer and that's when things went south. Because I was quote unquote sober and hadn't done my drug of choice yet, I thought, "Oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need in order to stay on track." Because I remembered the stability and structure that he had provided for us and my mother. So I began dating him and ultimately ended up relapsing and hiding my addiction from him for about 2.5 years until I was arrested and charged with very many felonies and gun charges. And that was my rock bottom.
And then what happened?
So much. I just needed a breather because it just gets crazier. Um,
That's fair. Take all the breathers you need. 'Cause I think the number of felonies was 20, from what I saw on the internet. Right.
yes,
It's
yes,
it's
around Between 17 and 20, some of them were dropped, so ultimately
Mm.
the end number was much less, thank goodness.
So when she says it's a lot, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
it was 20, and I had never been in trouble, so to go 0 to 20 is crazy, and, um, can you hear that noise in the background? My
No,
boyfriend's alarm is going off, and he sleeps through them, and
no,
so I
I
wanna make
can't
sure I
actually
don't
hear it.
have to tell.
No. Mm-mm. Your microphone's working, but it's not picking that up.
Okay, perfect. Drugs. Quick, before I forget. What was I saying?
Okay, so we were at rock bottom.
Oh, perfect.
That's where we were, and
So
we've
I've
all been there. I mean, that's the thing, like, you say rock bottom, and you're like, "That's my rock bottom," and then you needed a second, like, you needed a bump, like a break, and I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's I get it."
Yeah. So it was 3 days in jail that I was like, "Okay, the reality of this is too much. I am born in a broken body. I was never meant to be a grown up. This is too much. I can't I can't deal with it." I actually tried to end my life on my 3rd day in jail, and they saved me, and I was very angry that they saved me because I was like, How could you decide I have to stay here and go through all the motions and do all this stuff? Are you gonna live inside my body and do everything for me? If not, how dare you bring me back and force me to do that?" Like, it felt like an assault to be saved.
Mm.
And I remember them taking me to medical, stripping me of all my clothes and my glasses and everything, and me still trying to end it. Like, I wasn't done. I remember leaning over the toilet and I don't wanna get too dark, but
Yeah.
Um, I was begging the officers to hit me with their metal thingies. Like, I needed the pain to end. I could not deal with it. The physical withdrawal combined with the reality of the life that I created for myself was just too much. So they put me in suicide watch, and that's where I detoxed from drugs. And it was insane. It was horrible. It was horrific. Um, but then my father visited me on Christmas in jail, which Christmas sucks in jail, if anyone's wondering. And he told me that he was sober himself and that he would always love me no matter what. And there was nothing I could do that would change that, essentially. And having that love when I couldn't love myself made me want to change. And that was when I started writing the judges and begging to go to rehab. And I went and spent 6 months in rehab where I wanted it this time. I dove in head first. I learned how to live a life without drugs, and I moved into a halfway house. And that was right when I met a cute boy at rehab and immediately got pregnant by him accidentally.
Yay. Friends, I had the, advantage of knowing that was coming. So, I was prepared with my yays
That's so funny.
because we need the levity, like, and then what happened?
Well, then I rode my bicycle over to his halfway house and told him it wasn't my bicycle. I borrowed it from the roommate. I couldn't afford a bicycle at the time. Um, so I went and told him the happy news. I need you to know that uh, we had only been it had been less than it was the first time we slept together. I got an overnight pass. So to have to tell him this news while he has a 2-year-old already was, like, so awkward, dude. Anyway, um, we decided, obviously, to get married immediately after only knowing each other for 5 months. So we got married, even though we lived in separate halfway houses, and we took public transportation back to our designated halfway houses after the wedding, and, worked really hard on our recovery and saved up money and then moved in together right before I gave birth. to my son, who was born on my birthday.
Yay. Again.
And he was 6 months old when I found out I was pregnant again.
Yay.
And then my daughter was born 16 months after my son, and that was when his 4-year-old, from a previous relationship came to live with us full time when my daughter was 2 weeks old.
There's so much more to the story, and my boys are 16 months apart, which I say
Oh,
was God's plan, not my plan. And as somebody that doesn't have Irish twins, but also didn't have twins, 16 months apart is like twins.
yeah.
People don't understand. They're like, "Well, they're almost it's like he was almost 2." No.
Yeah, think about that.
It's like having 2 small babies. Um
Literally.
so, how did you navigate that, like, with this new family and the new situation? Like, because I know that, you know, I mean, I
Mm.
kind of know the answer, but you talk us through it.
Not super awesome. I actually I developed postpartum depression. Not that it was anybody's fault or situational or anything like that. It just so happened to be like a bonus prize with the birth of my kid. And it was tough to go from being a single person in a halfway house to a married mom of 3. And it was so overwhelming that there was a day I was gonna fake my kidnapping. I'm not joking. I was literally that's why when I hear in the news, like, these people faking their kidnapping, like, is it effed up and a waste? Yes. Do I get it? Hell yeah. I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
It is y I felt so trapped because, okay, I couldn't complain about motherhood because I didn't want him to regret choosing me as the lady to marry and have his children. I couldn't ask for help because I didn't want him to think I couldn't handle it. And I couldn't talk to my friends about how miserable I was because they all looked so thrilled and happy with their little bundles of joy. And so I just isolated. I'm like, I am a monster. Like, I would dread going to bed at night because it meant waking up the next day and having to take care of the kids. Like, I did not handle it well. It was really bad. And then one day I called my gynecologist and I was like, I just want to let you know that I've decided to resign as a mother and I'm going to go ahead and leave these kids in the crib and I'm going to run out in the woods. And I just wanted to let somebody know. And they're like, you need to come in immediately. And they got me in immediately. I mean, an emergency appointment, which was unexpected. And they had the conversation with me like they'd had it a million times and said I had postpartum depression and started getting help for myself, started getting help for my daughter, who BT dubs had a dairy allergy, colic, and acid reflux all at once. And I don't care how good of a parent you are, when a child is screeching at you from sun up to sundown, it's gonna be really tough to bond with that baby. It's gonna be really hard.
Yeah.
And that was something that I struggled with.
And you love those kids.
Oh
Like,
my
you love them so much, and being a mom has, there's this thing with growing up on the internet, right? Like, it's we've gotten to watch you make choices that show that you love your kids so dang much. So at some point on this journey of the down and the sad and the hard things, you found your way to the internet sharing a lot about it. Like, bridge that gap for us.
Yes. So I started on the internet right after my gynecologist actually suggested I start writing about what was going on in my head to help get it
Yeah.
out of there. And so I was like, because I take things to the extreme all the time, I was like, I'll see you're writing about my issue and I'll raise you one entire blog because blogging at the time was a thing. And I remember my sister calling me and being like, have you seen these blogs? These moms are just writing about what motherhood is like and da 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 da. And it's always so perfect and stuff and like recipes and how to be an amazing, wife to your spouse and all this shit. And I'm like, dude, that's crazy because that's not what's going on over here. What is happening?
Well, you fixed it. You're fixing it in real time.
So I said, we can't be having that. I genuinely though, in that moment, I realized how effed up I was, right? So, quote unquote, how effed up I was. So I was like, "Oh man, okay, um, I am failing, actually. There's nobody that looks like me, and I have to do something about that immediately." And so I started juggling the Jenkins, which is where the effing name comes from, because everybody was doing, like, balancing the Baileys and whatever. So I was like, "Juggling the Jenkins, that's perfect." And by the way, it's not perfect because it would just be Jenkins's. Juggling the Jenkins is what it would be.
Right,
But
if you're
but I'm
proper.
not good at grammar,
Right.
so I'm juggling the Jenkins. It's like anyway, it's fine.
Nobody seemed to mind.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I don't know. Did you get people with the grammar police after you?
not once, which is
Well,
so crazy because 'cause it's
now
been
they will
almost
be
10 years.
because
I
now
know.
we pointed it out. So
Yeah. I'll be like, "I don't even know who Jenkins is anymore. I don't even that's not even my name." I've thought about it too. I've thought about poor guy. Like, he's just trying to get the hell away from me. Okay, wait, I'm skipping ahead. Sorry.
come
I would
back.
Yeah, so I started when I started putting myself out on the internet, my real stuff, so many moms were like, "Oh my gosh, effing thank you." And I was like, "No, dude, what? Thank you. I'm not alone." Seriously, like, uh, it was the people, the supporters telling me like, "Hey, it's a nightmare over here too, lady. You're not alone." That made me realize, "Holy shit, okay, I'm not a monster. I'm not a psychopath. This is normal." And it was only because other people were brave enough to say, "Me too." No pun intended, whatever. Um, that I realized I wasn't alone, and that really inspired me. So then I opened up even more and started talking about jail. And that was when things really took off because at the time, it was very much like addiction anonymous. And at the time, it wasn't super prevalent for people to be coming online and breaking their anonymity and saying, "I'm an addict," you know, publicly. Not that it wasn't happening because, of course, it was surely happening. Oh, that's how I got inspired, I'm sure. But once I started putting that stuff out there, the amount of people whose gratitude, like, upped a level, like, when I thought it couldn't get any more supportive. And that was when I was like, "Okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing." And that was how everything started, and I just started literally saying anything that popped into my brain on the internet. And, that's whatever, you know?
And that's
Um
hard too, probably a little bit because, I feel like I don't know how to say it, but like there's no fear, but yet like you still take things very like they're very real to you when some like you get like the rage comments, the hate comments, like, girl, talk to me.
oh, man, I can't listen. It's so true. It's so true. I'm like, everybody makes me feel great, and then I'll cry about comments.
Mhm.
It's so bad to the point where I can't read them anymore. I will check the comments as soon as I post it just to make sure there's no, like, nip slips or anything crazy in the background, you know what I mean? Someone's
Yeah.
like, "You have a dead body back there." Like, I just
Oops.
yeah, again, and
Shoot.
so God, I always make stupid jokes and then get very derailed and forget what I was saying. But
Well, here, I'll get us back on track with a actual there's a video on the internet that I shared of yours where you responded to a comment you got on your high achiever book tour. So there was a fella named Jimmy.
oh, yes. Yeah.
You know the Jimmy, and he had a thought, and I don't wanna say any more because you remember I was ready to tell you more, but you remember. So walk us through the Jimmy question and how you responded to it and why.
I don't wanna misquote Jimmy, though, because in my mind, he cussed me out and
He
called
did.
me a whore.
Well,
Oh,
it was a different word, but we don't need to go there. It was he called you a bad word and said,
oh, the C word.
addiction, yes, And hashtag addiction isn't funny.
Yeah, that's right. Came to my live show
Mhm.
and said addiction isn't funny.
To heckle you.
Yeah, that's right. And there's my phone. I've been looking all over for it.
Yay!
I'm so sorry. This is really where is it?
No, it's okay.
Oh my
I
god.
honestly don't think that people that are watching this would expect anything different
I'm
from our
so sorry.
conversation. No, don't be
Hold on, I
sorry.
can't hear you. I'm not kidding. I was panicking. I was panicking before this podcast because I'm like, well, hopefully she doesn't need me to reference my phone because it's gone forever into the ether. I can't find it.
Oh, wait, I'm glad we found it.
Yeah, that was so obnoxious. I apologize.
Jimmy,
Fucking Jimmy.
fucking Jimmy.
Um, hold on. Uh yeah, so basically he came to a comedy show about addiction and said addiction isn't funny. And I just reminded him like it's not funny. It's not funny in any way. People are dying every day. And it's because they feel like they can't come forward and talk about their addiction. It's because they feel shame and guilt. And because there's people like you, Jimmy, out there who make people afraid to come forward by talking about their truth. But if I am making people laugh, they tend to listen more. And so if I can make it's not that I'm making fun of addiction, it's that I'm using humor to bring awareness about a subject that people feel weird talking about. And hopefully, if they're laughing, it means they're listening.
And life after addiction is possible. Like, that was, I think, one of the other things you said in your
Uh,
response to him was that life, people need that reminder too.
yeah, I actually have that printed on a plaque because of how somebody printed that out for me because of how often I say it. How life after addiction is possible. An amazing, beautiful, super cool life after addiction is possible. And there's no such thing as a lost cause. It's never too late to start over. It's really not. And if I can do it, anybody can do it. And Jimmy can go F himself. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that. You can cut that. I apologize. I didn't say that to him.
Well, I want to use this opportunity to share something that I've been holding back on because I feel like people need to be aware that stories like yours and sharing and talking about it as openly and vulnerably and transparently as you have can have a ripple effect in very real lives in very real ways. So, without going into like a crazy amount of detail, um, I shared with our friends here that I met Tiffany at a show in 2019, and it was right after I had attended a conference called Rise with Rachel Hollis, and I was feeling so fired up and so good and so ready to start this amazing new fresh life of all the things. I mean, without going into too much detail, just I was very optimistic about the future, and then I got very, very sick. And the sickness had everything to do with my own struggle with alcohol. I couldn't cut alcohol out. I also snuck alcohol, hid it from my husband for years. After it was for me, it was a coping strategy. So after I lost my dad super early at 23, he was 48, and I did not cope well, drank way too much. And I was young, so I was in that era of like the partying and like the friends were, thinking they were being helpful by buying the rounds of shots, but really I was just
Right.
it was getting worse and worse and worse. And, I got diagnosed at 35 years old since I met you. I got diagnosed at 35 years old with cirrhosis and told that I would need a liver transplant probably soon. And then
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. I thought cirrhosis was a skin condition. I'm so stupid. Cirrhosis of the
Psoriasis.
is
Psoriasis. So cirrhosis is the
oh my
liver
god.
liver failure. And
Shit. That's
yeah,
not good, dude.
no, it was very bad and it happened during COVID. It was super scary. So I was in the hospital twice for a combined total of 16 days. And then I went to I was on the mend, but I looked pregnant, like I looked like 9 months pregnant. And it's because I had a condition called ascites, which happens when you have as bad of liver problems as I had. So, it's actually part of why I named the show Quick Before You Forget, because I originally was gonna name it Quick Before I Forget, because my doctors, when I was really sick, told me that I would, probably forget a lot soon. They were surprised at how cognitively able I was based on how bad of shape my body was in. So this happened in 2021 and 2022. And for me, I don't actually know. And I still was dabbling. I was still sneaking alcohol at certain points in there, making it all worse. And there was a point though where I was getting wheelchaired out of my second procedure to surgically remove fluid from my stomach. So I'd had two procedures to surgically remove a total of 11 liters of fluid from my stomach. And I was being wheelchaired out because I couldn't walk. And they, at that point, said that that was a procedure that would be needed weekly. And I was like, "You know what? That's it. Like, I'm done." I don't know exactly what we talk about, like, sobriety dates and stuff. I don't know when mine was, but for me, like, in my head, it was that day because I said, "No, that's enough. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this weekly." And, I've since then, obviously, there's been some time, there's been some hard work, some prayer, and a lot of attention to what I consume content-wise. So content like yours and other content that uplifts and empowers and helps you, inspires rather than pulls you down. I've been very conscious about all of that, and I'm super, super excited and very grateful to share with you. Very long story short, that I now, I've lost 80 pounds. I've got 20 inches off of my waist, and I am in many ways happier and healthier as a 40-year-old than I was at 25. So that has a lot to do with people like you sharing your story in its messy, amazing glory with the world, because people like you sharing your story like that has an impact. And I wanted to like kind of level set there with you because you're funny and I love it. And I know that jokes sometimes like offset the hard things, for on purpose. But I'm just so grateful. And that takes me kind of full circle because there was a post that I resonated with back in 2019 actually, where you actually said the words like gratitude changes everything. And then you even mentioned a couple times in this conversation we've had about being grateful and gratitude. And that's why when I say this is a dream come true, this conversation, it's not just because you're amazing and a big fan of your work, but because I've been given this gift of actually being able to say to a hero of mine, thank you.
Jeez Louise, wow. You're welcome. First of all, I'd like to make sure you know how freaking welcome you are. Uh, I am truly honored to be a part of your journey, and it's so funny because if I'm being all the way honest, right now with, like, the season that I'm in, hearing that feels like you're talking about somebody else. Like, there's this version of me right now is so not accepting of that information. Like, it's so hard to believe that somehow I could have impacted you in that way because in this season, I'm having trouble getting my own butt up out of bed and, going through the motions and doing life. So, um, this is an incredible reminder for me that, like, this version of me is not who I am. You know, and that it's not who I'm gonna be forever, that this is just a season that I'm going through. I can only assume so that one day I can help other people who are in a similar season, maybe. I'm hoping that that's what the reason is that I'm going through this season right now because it's such a crappy season. It's not. That's the thing. The way that I'm viewing the season is through a very crappy lens. It's not that the season itself is crappy because truly, if I were to look at it objectively, everything is freaking amazing. I have the love of my life. My children are healthy and thriving. My family is bigger than I anticipated, but more love in the home than I could have dreamt. I have vehicles that get me places I don't have to use my legs. You know what I mean? Like, there's technology that exists. You're in your house, I'm in my house, and we're getting to talk and hang out with our friends. I don't know. Like, things are really great, but my inability or refusal to see them for what they are is what gets me into so much trouble all the time. It's almost like I'm more comfortable with my curmudgeon glasses on.
Well, let me remind you then of a quote that is actually your quote, that is one of my favorite quotes of yours, which is, "A flicker of hope in one's heart is capable of lighting the path to a new destiny."
Mhm.
You said that.
I know that's feels very weird right now.
But it makes me wonder, like, and maybe we need to have this reminder. Like, maybe we need to talk through this stuff. And I'm not, you said like before, it felt like a little bit like therapy, and I don't think I'm going to apologize for that, because
No.
that's a good
No.
thing.
I wasn't complaining. I just
No,
meant you're
no.
really good at it. I
Oh, well,
thought you
thank you.
were
Oh my
a
gosh.
therapist or something because
Well,
of
I do have a master's degree in clinical psychology, and that does come across more frequently than I think I realize. But also, where has your, and this is a good thing, like this is good, like let's talk through it together, because I can't dig you out of the hole, only you can do that. But where has your hope led you from 2019 to today? And where do you want it to lead you in the future?
I'm gonna absolutely answer this, but I just wanna tell you that was such a flex, what you said. I'm like, "This feels like therapy." You're like, "Well, I am a clinical psychologist, and I have a master's degree in brains, so that might be" like, that was a flex, dude, because I didn't know that about you, and so my dumb ass is like, "Oh my god, this feels like therapy," and you're like, "Well, I am the creator of therapy, so that makes sense that you would feel that way."
I know,
That
which is so funny because I didn't mean it to be a flex, but thank you.
I know, it
I
was a
think.
flex. To be able to just say that, I have a
I know
master's
my
in
mom's been
clinical
telling me that I need to put that up here instead of all my Swifty stuff, and I need to get on that.
I'm dead. Is that Taylor Swift in the background?
Yes, yes.
If if you don't put your master's degrees and shit up there, I swear I will lose my mind. That's hilarious. I wonder what Taylor would do if she knew. Anyway, I apologize.
I wonder too. I mean, this is, to be fair, guys, the people that are listening instead of watching, we have a lot going on behind me, including Tiffany's two New York Times best-selling books, including
Oh,
my
shit.
oh shit, what?
I wasn't gonna correct you the first time because I didn't want
I
to
thought
make
they
you
were
feel
both New York
weird.
Times.
I
No?
didn't want to make I don't feel no, just one of them.
The new one, right?
Yeah.
I Googled it special. So we're just going to call it a best selling book, because it was. Maybe not New York Times best selling, but it was
The
a best selling book.
the new one was the New York Times best-selling book. The first one was a best-selling book, just not New York Times.
Roger that. So,
But
okay.
which is surprising that it's not the other way around, and I don't think I should say that out loud actually now that
Well,
I've
you
said it.
can say it out loud, because the first book was phenomenal, and
But
maybe just less people know
no,
about it. No.
no, no, no. Oh, maybe, but also I mean, I wrote the book and I published it, and it had a completely different cover, and there was so many typos, and there was different character names for the same character within the book. Like, it was nuts until Penguin Random House picked it up and started publishing it, and then it was nice and tidy. But the reason is because the second book, I get the second book makes me feel some type of way, and I'm not supposed to say that as an author, I don't think. My publishing company will like it that I'm saying it, but, like, I wrote this book for what it was going to be, a love story about 2 addicts surviving the trials and tribulations of parenting and everything that comes with it, and I submitted the manuscript, and then the ending of the book changed in real life, and it was no longer a happy ending about 2 addicts. We were actually getting divorced now, and so to have this book go to publication with what it was, would have been so bad for a million reasons. People are reading it while looking at the time, we were like, "What is it gonna be? Headlines? What are we gonna have to deal with? Da, da, da." Um, at the same time the divorce is happening. So, I had to take the manuscript back and completely rewrite the book, dude.
That's a lot. Like
It was
that is so I
so
also have
frustrating.
I also have industry experience in like the line editing process of a few books. So I can't even imagine what that, I mean, how'd you do that?
It was under duress. basically, and I'm not kidding, like, I would cry in frustration because I was like, I'm going through a divorce and having to write about it for the world to see. And I have to find a way to do that that doesn't tell the entire truth because the entire truth would just destroy so many people. So it was like having to put my anger and my resentment and my shock and frustration to the side to write this character in a way that didn't destroy them so that when our kids read it in the future, they don't hate anyone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my part too, like I could have, if I would have written about his part, I would have had to have written about my part, which is that I'm actually like really difficult in real life and I am very volatile at times.
And the world honestly loves you for it.
I don't know if they love my boyfriend doesn't love me for that.
Well, that's not true either. Goodness gracious. So you do have a new boyfriend and you guys have like a new page and a new like brand that you're working on. Talk us through that.
Yeah, we did do that. We did do that.
You
We
did
did
do
do
that.
that.
And it's
But
cool and
then
it's exciting.
almost immediately, I was like, well, it's time for me to have a mental breakdown. And so we set up this page. I got like 76,000 followers to come over somehow. So freaking shocked, truly shocked because I marketed the page as crafting. I'm like, if you're coming for juggling the Jenkins content, you're going to be disappointed. We're crafting over here and we're not worried about the algorithm. We're not worried about being verified. I can't deal with that life. I just want to create cool shit with my boyfriend and show you guys. And if we can make some bread in the meantime, awesome. So yeah, so I'm like, let's do it. And we are all gung ho. And then my ADHD kicked in and it's like, but we have so much laundry. Let's just work on that. And then it's like, oh, you always wanted to put frosted glass over the glass windows. Let's do that. And then I just kept putting everything else that I wanted to do in front of it. And work has been kind of like triggering for me a little bit lately. So I've been trying to stay away from it, which is unfortunate because it's like we're like, grand opening of this restaurant, you guys come on in. We got the best food in town. It's going to be so amazing. We're going to feed you every day. And then they sit down at the table and then the waiters come out with the metal things and lift it up and it's nothing. And everybody's like, "Okay. Thank you. Glad we're here. What do we get for it?" That's how it feels. And so then there's that pressure and that shame and that guilt that I like to add on to my shoulders and I'm like, "Well, let's feel this for a while." And punish ourselves because we deserve that. And yeah,
You don't, first of all, as you know, I know you know that, but you absolutely don't deserve the extra luggage. I
right.
would encourage you to please go watch my there's an episode that came out last week with Burke Floyd. He's an actor and he shared this analogy about luggage and how we all have luggage and we're all on this journey of life together with our luggage. And we can choose to put our luggage down at the door and go into the party and have a great time, but then we pick up our luggage and we also happen to find some friends with similar luggage along the way. So go and
Mhm.
I may have just spoiled the whole story, but go listen to it, go watch it.
Did you make it a
And
clip?
that part isn't a clip yet, but the whole episode is fire, and it's long, but,
I'll listen to the whole
if
thing.
thank you.
I will.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
Okay.
And there was a point. You said about the guilt and the shame, and you know what that did for my brain? That actually led me to a funny place. Because you used to do these skits, and I don't know that you're still doing them, but you used to do these skits with all the emotions, like anger and all the things, and you know what I'm talking about, but maybe people don't. And I'm just wondering, do you have a favorite one of those? Because like I want to like go find it and relive the joy that brought us, 6 years ago or however long it was.
Yeah, that there was I think I wanna say 7 parts, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't
Or
know.
no, Me Versus Anxiety was 7 parts. That one is if my brain had a morning meeting, and it's basically where my brain is standing at the end of the table with, depression and anxiety and fatigue and hope and rage and all of the people, mostly negative, that meet at the morning meeting before I wake up for the day, and they're all conspiring of how they can F up my day. all of them are significant to me, because it they all took like, there was one that I did I don't know, it's hard to explain, like, there was one that I did during COVID, where it's like, what my brain is doing during COVID, and then there's one that's like, what my brain is doing during the summer with the kids and what my brain I think the first one that I ever did is my favorite because it really took off and it really had people identifying parts of themselves that they hadn't previously. And it allowed people to realize, like, hey, this is an actual real thing that happens. It's happening in my brain too. I'm not the only one. And now I can identify these parts of me for what they are. And that was really cool feedback to get. Every video I made because it was something that I was going through. And I had hoped that even to this day, if one person, I just look for one comment that is like, "I needed this." And then I stopped checking comments because that's it. That's the only reason that I do the shit is to I mean, that's not the only reason. Like, my videos make money, and I want to be able to pay for my family's food and house and stuff. But, like, I don't wanna be one of those people who's like, I'll be honest, it generates income, and I need that to survive. However, my passion the reason, the thing that wakes me up in the morning and keeps me going and subjecting myself to all, the internet hate and all of that, the only thing, it's not money. It's hearing somebody realize that a part of themselves that they've been shaming and hiding and regretting now has a name and other cohorts out there doing the same thing to other people. That's the reason.
Making people feel seen and honestly, like they're not alone.
That's it. That's my whole point, and I truly when people are like, "What's the point of life?" I honestly think that's it. I can't think of any other I mean, I'm sure there's go on and procreate and things like that, but I really think the point of life is to have experiences so that you can help other people when they have theirs.
Yeah, human connection is everything to me, and we all have the gift of connection to so many more people than we realize, and that tends to happen more viscerally, I guess, through stories and through, just the sharing the humor of all those emotions meeting on a morning meeting to annihilate your day. Because that's honestly what happened. Like they all were just like, nope, she's not going to do life today. But
Mhm.
hope was there, and we love hope,
Mhm.
right? Like
Yep.
the um. Do you ever have a moment where you thought to yourself, like, I've done the work. Why is this still so hard?
Mm. Yes, but a part of me also knows that I haven't necessarily done all that I could. Like, right now, I'm taking intense DBT classes, for it's an 18-week course in person, and I have homework, and so I keep procrastinating, so I'll leave the class, and then it leaves my mind, and instead of, like, diving back into the material later that night or doing my anger log or whatever, I find myself putting it off, putting it off, putting it off until Tuesday, and then I'm like, "Shit, I have class, now I have to do it." And so it's like I was talking to my partner and I'm like, "I am doing the work." We weren't that's not how we talk to each other, but that's my frustrated tone. Like, it was like, "I am doing the work, like, I am trying to be better." And he was just simply like, "Are you?" And I was like, "Yeah." "Oh." I didn't say "oh" out loud because that would have admitted defeat, but I thought it. I thought, "Oh, crap, he's right." He's right, and that's the thing is, like, I know that anything I put my mind to, truly and this is gonna sound really conceited and effed up, but it's my truth. Anything I put my mind to, I do really amazing at. Anything I want, it's gonna be bomb. But if there's something that I want, but is hard, then that's when I get stuck.
And that's when it's most important that you keep going, honestly,
Mm,
because the growth is on the other side, right? Like that, and it sucks because I mean, as somebody that's been through and worked through some big losses and hard things in my life, I can say with some level of experience actually that generally speaking, the times when you think it's the lowest and like it's the hardest and you're working so hard and why is nothing happening? It's because you're close. Like it's because you like it's right there and you get to like
mm.
keep going, you
I
know? That
like that.
well, it's my advice, and I'm curious if you have advice too, but it's my advice for anybody that feels like they're failing at healing because healing is a journey and it's not a straight line, but
Oh,
it's definitely something that like it keeps you guessing, keeps you on your toes, and everybody has to do it. So like, and I think everybody's felt like they've failed at healing, and I feel like that's maybe where you're in your season right now is like you feel like you're like not rocking at this whole healing journey so maybe you're
dude.
giving advice to yourself? I don't know, but you need to give advice to yourself then. You know, channel the you that gets stuff done and give yourself and the world some advice on how to work through failing at healing.
Absolutely. That's so true. I've been doing a lot of work on like yeah, identifying those parts of me that are trying to sabotage me. And like I know there's so many there's like mom with boxing gloves who's ready to just fight everybody all the time and protect her kids. There's like a scared little kid in there. And I just can why am I telling you what were we talking about? I'm so sorry. My brain.
Don't apologize.
I feel
So no, you were talking about we were talking about advice for yourself when you're failing when you feel again because you're not failing because you're trying, right? You feel like you're failing at healing.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, because I had something I wanted to say, but then I think I just started saying words because I
It
forgot.
happens. It happens. Quick before you
Freaking
forget.
yes. I have always heard people say healing isn't linear, and it's just one of those things that I've heard, and it's just gone in one ear and out the other, and I'm like, "Okay, healing isn't linear. Okay, but you know what I mean? Healing isn't a straight line. Okay. Okay." Like, but then the other day, like, I listened to it, like, I heard it for the first time because I was like, "Dude, yesterday was such a bad day for me in my regulating of my emotions, but today I did better, and last week was so terrible, even though the week before that was better." So that's what I'll do is I'll have a great week, and then I'll do something and it feels like a regression. I'm like, "I'll never be better. I'll always be this way." You know what I mean? And then it gets better. And so I'm like, "Holy crap, this stuff like ebbs and flows. That's crazy." And then I'm like, "Healing isn't linear."
There it is.
That's what they mean. That was
It's
the
the
first time I
craziest wave.
yeah, I heard it for the first time in that experience of like, "Oh, so what I would say to somebody is like, what that means when healing isn't linear is there's gonna be times where you wanna die, and you're like, "There's no point, this sucks, this is horrible, I wanna give up, I'll never be better, my brain is just a whore, and everything sucks." Like, then it's not gonna feel that way later that night and you're gonna feel so inspired and you're like, "I'm gonna do amazing. I'm gonna heal better than anybody's ever healed, and I'm gonna have a crown for the best healer of all the heals." And then the next day, you have a regression or an episode, and it's back to the pits of hell. And so, like, healing isn't linear means you're literally gonna go through those emotions, and but it's normal. And I guess I didn't realize that. I guess I thought as long as there's an upward trajectory, you're doing it right.
Mm, nope. It goes both ways.
Exactly, and I just realized that recently, so it's kinda you hit the nail on the head when you said that about me. It sounds like I'm going through that healing is up and down part, and that's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, and especially when I have people in the meantime, like you, my beautiful friend, who are like, "Because of you." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you somehow helped me is what you're saying to me, and it's like, I'm at the bottom part of the healing right now and can't believe what you're saying because it's just me down in the trenches feeling like a shell of a person. You know what I mean?
I do. And because your cup is yellow, I see that as a sign that I'm supposed to share this with you. And I also have this. I never finished the Taylor Swift. There's just two Taylor Swift. There's a relic up here that says it's the Long Pond Sessions, and then there's Taylor doing her Fearless Heart on the other side. But then there's also a Yellow Brick Road Wicked Lego that I love so much because I believe the yellow brick road leads us where we need to go. I believe in God and his power in my life, and he has been guiding me on this path that doesn't make any sense. Like it honestly, like it feels like a dream that doesn't make any sense, but I keep showing up and good things keep happening. And I keep saying, good will come of this. Good things are happening. Good, it's like mantras that I've been telling myself. And I do believe, and like without it sounding like a flex or conceited or whatever, I do believe that you and I, after, being very not super connected on the internet, but like aware of each other on the internet for 6 whole years, came together our path came together right now as it did today for a really important reason. And I think that, the timing of me deciding, because I shared with you before we went on that, peek behind the curtain friends, but I shared with her before we went on that I thought I'd maybe share a little bit more about my story in this conversation because I hadn't, for a lot of different reasons, I hadn't really talked about my sobriety journey too much on this podcast yet. It's brand new and it's a lot to digest for people. It's a lot for me to digest out loud. And I decided that today was the day. I was like, well, with Tiffany, I feel safe because I feel like I can like she'll understand at a deeper level that, maybe a different guest might not. But the reason for my rambling is I do believe that what you put out into the world comes back to you. And maybe that's a little bit of what's happening for us today because what you've put into the world, Tiffany, regardless of how trenched you feel right now, has been a lot of very good things. And I am very grateful for it. And, if our conversation brings light, like you said, to one person, that's all that matters. I haven't figured out how to make a single penny off of any of this yet. And, that's okay. It's
Well,
okay. I I know it will happen because I believe. Like I have
we'll
this
talk.
faith that we'll talk. Okay.
Can you give me 2 seconds really
Yeah,
quick? All
of
right.
course. She's coming. She's leaving. Just so she comes back. Dun, dun, dun. The suspense. I don't know why I'm dancing. Because there's imaginary music. There's imaginary music.
Sorry, what are you laughing?
No, I was just dancing with myself. It's fine.
I had to grab this.
She had to grab this. Stop.
Can you see it?
I can. It says Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy?
You have made a very wordy human speechless, my friend. I'm gonna need to know the story behind the Yellow Brick Road sign in your house.
Yeah, so my mom was a huge fan of The Wizard of Oz, and so every time I hear the Yellow Brick Road or anything, I think of her, and so I wanted to put it up to commemorate her, and so it's just so funny that you brought it up, and I just happened to have just hung it. That's crazy.
It's not. None of this is crazy because it's all happening just as it was supposed to. I believe that 100%, particularly now that you just randomly have a Yellow Brick Road sign in your house. Like, what are the chances of that? That is not normal. And then none of this has been. And I haven't even, you know what? I haven't even asked like a single of my normal questions.
I'm so
I have no,
sorry.
don't be sorry. I don't think we need to. I think this conversation has been beautiful and I'm grateful. And I do have one thing that I don't want to not ask you because it's super important to me to ask you because I feel like if I were you, I would love this question. So tell me, what is it? Because we talked about Jimmy, right? So what is a question that you wish somebody would ask you? Like a question that you've got it like in the chamber, you're ready to go with your answer, and you just nobody's asked you that question.
Oh, I mean, this is so such I love this question, you're right, but it's so tricky because I it's a very self-serving question. I feel like I've been asked a lot of questions. I can't really think of any regular questions. I'm like, "Man," because I usually would just volunteer that information if I wanted somebody to know it.
Right. So make it self-serving then. That's okay. And that's part of why you're here.
It's something I mean, nobody could ever ask me that, but if somebody were to ask me, "Have you chosen to protect others over financial gain in your life, on your platform? Have you chosen to keep things quiet for multiple people when you could have told your own truth and the events would be so shocking that you could be a millionaire, but have chosen to take the high road and not do that? Have you ever done that?" I would love the opportunity to be like, "Fuck yes, I have," and it almost killed me, and it sent me to a psych ward, but I know that I did the right thing, and I just hope that in whatever life or experience comes after this one, that there will be some sort of checklist that someone goes off of, sees all of the personal sacrifices I've made to protect others, and that there's some sort of reward afterward. Because, yes, emphatically, yes, I have remained silent and almost died to protect other people on the internet. And in turn, became fuck. This got so, see what I mean? This got so dark. This got so dark, and I knew it would. It's such a I've talked about everything except the things I can't talk about. I've been asked everything except the questions I can't answer. And I'm an open book except for a few parts of my life that I had to continue to show up to work and smile when the reality of what I was going through was so shocking that it would make people's jaws drop open.
Thank you for continuing to keep going regardless of all that because it's not the answer expected at all. And it's okay that it got dark. Like it's good, I think it's really important for people to see all of it. And I mean, without any amount of without any amount of really real like measurable success so far, I show up as my whole self on the internet too. And you pave the way for people to do that, and that's a beautiful thing. So,
Thank you.
because of the reasons that we've talked about with like just feeling less alone and feeling like, there I felt seen in what you shared.
Mm,
Like, and I know that there are others that also will feel seen in what you shared. So you shouldn't feel the need to. I understand why you want to
yeah,
apologize for like going dark, but like I feel like you shouldn't feel the need to apologize for it because you're just being you and you are just telling the truth. And
yeah.
nobody can, speak otherwise when you're
Mm,
just being you and you're just telling the truth.
thank
So
you.
you're welcome, and I lied, one more question because
Okay.
it's important to me. If I handed you a megaphone and everybody had to listen. Like the world at large had to listen to Tiffany Jenkins in this moment with this megaphone, what would you say?
Stop being dicks to each other?
Yeah,
Like, in general, just everybody stop being dicks to it. Like, what?
legit. Yeah,
Just stop.
just stop it. Yeah,
Yeah.
agreed. 100%. 100%.
That's it. That's the first thing I'd yell.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
what are we doing? None of us know what the F we're doing on this ball of rock floating through the sky in a galaxy. Why can't we all just admit we're freaking out and have no clue what the F is going on? Why can't we all just be honest with each other and be like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me." Instead of, "You piece of shit." I don't know why I did that accent. There's no significance. I'm so sorry. I don't know. I just think everybody could be a little less douchebaggy.
I agree. 100%. I mean, it's the golden rule. Like it sounds so silly, but like just treat others like you'd want to be treated. And that's not that
Yeah.
should be so much easier than we make it. So, um I mean, I could talk to you forever. I could talk
Yeah,
to you for
same,
hours,
same.
and I mean, maybe now we just lock in, like, we're gonna have to do this again. We're gonna need a check-in. Like, we're gonna need to know how you're doing because
Absolutely.
we're not in the best place right now, but we
I know,
know
I'm so sorry. Should I
we
not be doing podcast interviews right now?
you should be because I'm not I'm honestly not trying to like because there's like a whole record of this on the internet so people can go and they can see the truth, which is that I have been I have been a fan and I'm not everything that I'm saying isn't lip service. Like it's legitimately the truth in my heart. So that's why I can say like it's actually so refreshing and so important for people to see all the sides of the things. And that is people will everybody has the luggage, and
Mhm.
people will feel less alone because they know that like the journey, you can be an influencer at your level and have the success that you've had. And you know what? It's not honestly all sunshine and rainbows sometimes. And that's a good thing for people to have that little bit of like a reality check of like, no, she is just like us. And that like that's kind of the whole
Mhm.
point of what you've done this whole time is that you are
Same.
just like us. And that's what people will feel seen in. So absolutely keep doing
That's so
podcasts. Keep
thank
showing up for
you.
you, keep showing up for us, keep showing up for that family of yours, and, we'll see you again at another time on Quick
Absolutely, I'd love to do a part 2 follow-up.
Yay. Great. Sounds good. You heard it here first, friends. So, we will see you next time on Quick Before You Forget.
Bye.
Tiffany, I have a question from a friend. So before I know I keep saying we're wrapping and then I keep going back on my word, but my friend Susie asked this question and I would be doing a disservice if I don't follow through. So her question was, and I'm going to read it word for word. What coping skills do you use when you feel like you're going to explode? For example, she writes, she used to run, which she can't do right now. So, how do you shake it off, as our girl Taylor would say, when the anxiety and stress is becoming too overwhelming?
That's a really good question, and it's really interesting to answer this question from the perspective that I'm in, which is in the midst of these bouts of rage and anger and overwhelm and going 0 to 100 and feeling like I'm going to literally explode. And so, some things that have helped me, we bought a punching bag, but I have found that when I'm angry, I just want to run and hide. I'm not like I have to take my aggression out person, which I am once I'm hiding. Then I'm sitting there stewing and I get very rageful. So in the closet, we have a screaming pillow, Play-Doh, fidgets, squeezy things. There's a 15-minute rule. If I storm up there, nobody's allowed to talk to me for 15 minutes unless they want. It sounds so messed up, but I am in DBT classes. I'm working on managing my anger, but right now I'm having such a hard time controlling it that I'm strongly suggesting people give me 15 minutes to cool down because I will snap. I just will. If you come in, I'm going to be like, "Oh, what are you here with your legs walking in?" Like just for no reason. I'm just such a bitch for no reason. So anyways, my advice is what the DBT teachers are telling me directly to do in those moments. Try to identify the moments leading up to it, because for me, it feels like it's 0 to 100, but there's lots of little moments happening leading up to it, overstimulation, multiple sounds happening at a time, incessant questions and stuff like that. So I think starting to identify when those are happening earlier and then removing yourself from the situation or doing breathing exercises or and something you find therapeutic in the early stages before it gets too bad has been helping me a whole bunch. But I'm still learning myself, girl. So if I find anything else out, I'll tell you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you for being here with me today on Quick Before You Forget. Please like, share, and subscribe, as that helps the show so much, and I really appreciate it. And I'll see you next time on Quick Before You Forget.